So this is quick burst training for Spelling Shed for primary schools. I, of course, haven't explained my role across Aspire and with Digital Learning Cornwall. There's no commission here or promotional aspect for this product. And I often feel, it's good to say what's bad about products as well as we go along. This is a critical view of using these products. It's not just some kind of sales talk. So we'll cut to nuts and bolts of how things work. And there's certainly a few things that we could say along the way about Spelling Shed that perhaps could be better. But why are schools using it, and why have they been using it actually for quite a long time now? It is a way to put a gaming element into spelling. By that, I don't mean playing computer games, playing Minecraft or something like that, but it puts in sort of quizzing aspect on screen, spelling quiz game, however you want to describe it. Spelling is an area that can be pretty dry if there isn't some thought put into it. It's a tough zone to keep it fresh. And it's a tradition within schools which is sort of quite protected in some ways, and that's another conversation perhaps. I think that spelling certainly has its place in primary schools, and Spelling Shed provides a scheme of resources that can be used as well within many different teaching contexts, and we'll touch on that a bit later. But again, putting some variety into this perhaps potentially dry, tricky area can be really helpful. And there are lots of tools within Spelling Shed that will save teachers a lot of time with just administering those day-to-day spelling schemes week by week. So we'll look at the different parts of the system. Move over to 2 there. We'll look at the scheme PDFs and how you can work with those, and we'll look at how you can set spellings and the fact that you can actually set up your spellings with Spelling Shed for the whole year, which is quite brilliant if you've set it up and you've got your whole year then sorted to work. I'm then going to go from the child's perspective just to show you what it's like for a child logging in to Spelling Shed and what they will potentially see. Talk about some of the options on there, and then we'll think about Q&A. So I'm going to change the sharing on here slightly, and I don't normally do this, but I'm actually going to come out of there and just then attempt to share my whole screen with you, I believe. Here we go. Let's just share the whole screen, and then we won't have to muck around too much with back and forth from there. So here I am logged in to a Spelling Shed account, which is an Ed Shed account. So Ed Shed is your sort of the top level name that they use. I know that Literacy Shed has been around for a long time, and now you've got these other bits and pieces. You've got Math Shed, you've got Phonics Shed, Quiz Shed there. So all of these titles, all these different systems come under this Ed Shed name. And I guess in terms of criticism, this is one thing we might say about this. As these different systems have kind of grown organically, there's a sense that navigating around things can be at times a little bit confusing. An experience of using this doesn't leave you thinking that was the most amazingly, brilliantly designed interface for managing things. But having said that, many sympathies for a company like Ed Shed to build these amazing tools and sort of let it organically spread. There's lots and lots of options that teachers want, and they have to respond to that. While it's perhaps not the easiest system to navigate around, I think it's developed well over the last couple of years, and there's pretty much everything in there now for administering these spellings to the class. If you are, I'll just get this one out of the way, if you are setting up Spelling Shed, it's got this quick start wizard here now, and you've got different steps for creating accounts for students and the groups, essentially the groups in which they sit. And it's really important that you have groups as well as student logins, because when it comes to setting children assignments, as they're called in here, or challenges or quizzes, you want to be able to say, all right, they're in class 4, click the button, I want all of the children who are in class 4 to be set this work. Okay, now if you can put this job in the hands of some IT support, brilliant. That is probably the way to go with this, and let them sniff around and work out how this works. Many schools, well, a lot of schools now use Wand, including ours, and if I go through there, you'll just get a sense of how, if I go through this process, and again, it's probably IT support, or internal IT, or whoever handles this, that can set this stuff up. It's got much better in recent times. You'll see here it's pulling in all these groups from our data system, from our MIS, and we don't want all of them to come in here. We only want essentially the year groups and the classes to come in. So that can be set up. You can see, especially with all the COVID stuff going on, schools have got 1,000,001 groups in their data systems, but that can be set up nicely and synced through with Wand. If you're not using Wand, it can be done manually with a CSV Excel sheet, and it's it's important that you get that right from the start, so that you can take advantage of the the time-saving stuff that's in there. You don't want to be having to click every single child individually, 30 children out of a school of 250, and you've actually got to click them all. You want the groups in there so that you can use that. Right, enough talking about the admin side of setting up. You're welcome to ask me more questions later about that. Let's go into some different parts of this. If I scroll down, you'll see on the left here, I've got different options down the side here. And if you see under school, I've got the groups, I've got assignments, I've got Hive Games, which is like a live game between children that they can play with a code that they really enjoy. You've got challenges and leagues. Now I'm going to go up here to resources first of all, because that's going to show you theme is. Now let's click in there, and you'll see we've got immediately, we have stages 1 to 6, and it hides away from year 1 to 6 with stage, so that if you've got some children who are in year 5 but they're working on year 3 type spellings, and you give them stage 3, and they don't say, why are you giving me year 3? So that's why they've used the word stage. And there are these diagnostic tools. I don't have that much experience of using those, but they work as a quiz, as a way to find out how well your children can spell. So they may be a bit of fun that's worth doing if your children are new to Spanish Ed. So you see, let's go into stage 2, or year 2, and you'll see there that we've got well, at the top we've got the full scheme. So if you want to download the whole thing, you can click through there and you can get the whole thing. It's going to be over 100 pages. You can have a PDF or a PowerPoint. I won't do that now. I believe I've got I've got stage 1 full scheme there that we could look at in a moment. But let's just look down. You'll see it goes through lessons, and it calls them, there's one lesson per week essentially. It's slightly strange to me that they call it lesson, because it refers really to a week's worth of spellings, but you'll see there's 36 in there, which is common for all of these stages, and you'll also see that they've got you know, there are some challenge weeks as well. There are a few extra bits and pieces bolted on, but essentially there's this, you know, a year's worth of different spellings. Let's just click on one of these, and I'm going to download the PDF and just open that up. Shouldn't take too long on here. So let's have a look at this one. Here we go. So I'm just opening this PDF up here, and you'll see different pages for this. You can see the classic look, say, cover, right, check activity there. You've got an activity where it's put it in the context of some writing. You've got some answers there. And here's another activity where you've just got a circle. Now, so there's a few activities there, and there's some instructions here. Here's the list of spellings. So that's a 7-page PDF, and so that's for, you know, 1 week, one list of spellings, and that's list 22. So that might be week 22 in your year. Now, there's nothing to say how you should use this material or deliver it, or which ones you should use. You know, you can pick and choose. Many people will print this off and use that perhaps in class, or perhaps it's something they give to the children to take home to practice. This type of activity would work well up on an interactive board or a screen. So there's no reason why that can't be just a quick activity that children do at some point. Maybe it's some of your early work that children settle to in the morning. Maybe it's after lunch where they come in and do a quick settling activity. But these are generally seem to be well thought out activities that will fit in to again give a bit of variety to how children are learning these spellings. So this is year 2, week 22, or stage 2, list 22. If I just come out of there, I'm going to get into, I'll just open up the full scheme, the year 1, and you'll see in here it gives you a breakdown of the different weeks. Common exception words, and if I go through, remember this is year 1, you'll see it's going through every single activity, and you see this one has actually got quite a lot of slides in there that will work well as a PowerPoint with them appearing. So you can download the PowerPoint as well, and then that will have that, you know, element of interactivity about it. Now there's a lot of pages here. Here we go. I knew it was over 100. We're basically up to 300 there. So that's a good idea of, you know, this as a scheme. You know, of course, all of this stuff would work just printed, wouldn't it, without the interactive element? But it appears to be a well produced set of work. And as you go on, you'll find there is some variety in the different activities that are in there. Now, with PDFs, as the common struggle for people across the lockdown periods is, how do I work with these things, these very useful documents, PDFs, because they will appear pretty much the same on any device, but you can't edit them without a bit of fiddling around. And you do need to, you probably will want to print off certain ones. You might want to split out a page from a PDF. So I'm going to point you towards this little tool, I Love PDF, which is the one we recommend to people. Now, actually, if you're using a Mac, it's a bit simpler because Preview will just let you copy and paste pages around. But if you've got a PDF and you want to split it or merge things or whatever you want to do, I Love PDF can be good. If I go to split PDF here, you'll see that I can drag a PDF in here. I won't put that huge one in there. Let's put another one in here. This is 15 pages, and you can see here, if I go to fixed ranges there, I can just split the whole thing out into different pages. And if I click here down the bottom right there, split PDF, it will give me 15 different documents straight away. Let's give that a go. And that will then download onto my computer, and I can grab those pages and do whatever I want with it. If you're, if you're using a learning platform or something like that, then that might be something you do, and you put an activity on there. Just have a quick look and we'll see. There we go. We've got 15 pages separate. So I Love PDF can be a very useful tool for all sorts of things. Right, back to Spelling Shed. Now, so I've shown you the scheme, and if you go to Spelling Shed, you'll see that you can download some of this stuff for free as well and have a look at it. Let me show you now how to set up your spellings. It might be a term's worth, it might be week by week. I would encourage teachers to bite the bullet and just get the rest of the year done, or get the whole year done at the beginning of the year. So I'm going to go over here to assignments, and you'll see in here, don't let this fry your brain too much. I'm looking at these assignments, which is basically you are setting children some work to do when they log in, okay, and you can control it so that they can only do the list of spellings that you've set until they've done it a certain number of times. So but you can also, as you see here, it says create. So I could create a single assignment. That might be, one of the diagnostic quizzes. It could just be a list of spellings I want to use. It could be a certain week from a scheme, but I was talking about doing the whole year. Okay, now that's an assignment set. And if I go there, this is really where the power of using technology here and saving time can help you out. So let's say I'm setting up, right, we're at this point in the year, I'm going to set up spellings for the rest of the year. So I'm going to select a group to do this for. I'm going to select year 4, and it's interesting at this point to mention that the school in which I'm most closely tied, I teach at, has some split classes. So there are some classes with there's one class that's all year 3, there's one class that's all year 4, and then there's another class that's a split of year 3 and year 4, and that's the class which I'm in. Now, if I'm setting spellings for this school, I want to set for year 4. I've had a chat with the teacher and we've said, all right, for year 4 we'll set the spellings and they'll all be the same. So if I choose the group here, year 4, it's going to choose that, it's going to be around 45 children that get set these spellings. The stage, I'm going to go for stage 4. Of course, it might be that there are certain children that you don't include in this, where you want to give them different spellings. On the next screen, which I'm not going to show you because it will show all the children's names in the school, you can choose to knock out certain children, give them, and then they're free to be set up with something else. I'm going to choose stage 4. There we go. It did a bit of thinking there. And when I choose the start date and time, let's imagine I'm actually setting this up to start on Monday the 8th of November. Just started using Spelling Shed and I'm keen to get going with it. You'll see that the dates here have adjusted so that it runs from the start of Monday until the following start of Monday. It will then change to a different set. Okay, so you've got week 1 from 8th to the 15th, week 2 from 15th to 22nd, and it's set up, it's taken the different lists of spellings from the scheme. I chose stage 4, and so it's taken all of those. Right, now obviously I'm setting up for a whole year. There's certain lists that aren't going to be usable because we don't have that many weeks left in the year. But let me just show you. Of course, you just need to sort of have an awareness of the ones that you have set. You can always go back to this screen and see the ones that you set and just, you know, say, okay, it's 6th of December now, we're on this one, all right, or now it's just after Christmas and we're on this one. But you might be thinking, what about the half terms? What about Christmas holidays when I don't want to set children any spellings in that time? And actually, I would say, as a parent myself and a teacher, having a week off spellings in, especially, you know, before Christmas and before Easter, tends to be a good idea, because those weeks tend to be slightly more chaotic, and everyone is very tired. So have a look at what I do now. In Cornwall, I believe that this is going to be the last week before the Christmas holiday. So I'm gonna, at this point, I'm actually gonna press a plus button here, and I'm gonna stick in an extra week because I want a week off, and then I'm gonna put 2 more of those in, a plus and a plus, because there's 2 weeks over Christmas. Now here, and you see, I had to do a bit of thinking, you know, where do I actually want this? Here, I'm going to go for no objective, no objective, no objective. Okay, and so you can see that I've managed to block out. I've blocked out the last week before Christmas. I've blocked out the 2 weeks of Christmas, and then I can move on to think about February half term. Let's have a look down here. February half term, I believe, is not that week. That's the one just before it. I believe it's this week. And so if I add one in, so I've got an add over here, I'm going to add one in and go to no objective. That is then my half term week there, and so nothing's going to happen. I have to say, when I've done this, I've had the calendar for the year up on another tab, and if it looks a little bit like, oh my goodness, that's frying my brain, yes, it fried my brain the first time I did it, but then I worked out that if you add in these sections and set no objective, you're basically there. So I'd encourage you to give it a go, for the sake of setting up all of your spellings for a whole year, which is obviously, you know, quite a marvelous thing to have sorted out, in terms of admin for your class. Have a look up here. It says games required. Now you can, if I put in here that children are going to have to play the game, which means practice the list 3 times or once or 5 times, it doesn't mean they can't practice again and again. But if I say games required, then that means they've got to play that game that many times. Okay, am I going to set this? No, I'm not. So I'm going to just close that. But a quick reminder, that's from here, create an assignment set. Now you'll see in here, remember I'm still under assignments. You'll see at the top here, I've got some bits and pieces. There's a few in here that I've set up for today down here, and there's pending. Now the pending ones are the assignments that are set up for the rest of the year, so I can have a look in there. But again, if you want to look at what you have set up, then you can go to sets here, and you'll see we've got an assignment set for year 3, and we've got an assignment set for year 4 here. And if I take a look, if I go to edit, you'll see this is a reminder of what's been done, and it even gives you a little tick to show you which weeks have passed and which ones have been done. So that's pretty useful for you. And of course you would have your, you know, your PDFs for the different weeks downloaded. Perhaps you might find it easy just to download the whole thing and then have that at your fingertips for printing bits or whatever it is you want to do. Okay, I'm very happy to return to that later if people want to ask some more questions about it. It could be that there's someone in your school who's got their head around it and can set up the spellings for, you know, for everyone. Potentially that would be a way to do it across the school. So let's have a go at actually what it's like for a child. Now in my other window up here, I'm logged in as a child, Ben Raby, who I've got permission to log in as and use. So on his, let's just refresh this. So when he logs in, he's got this dashboard. Again, this is slightly aside from Spelling Shed, but it's how we set it up. He's got this dashboard, and he can click on Spelling Shed, and it should. Let's hope it works. It's worked today. It should log him in and give him these options. Now you can see up here, he's got 3 assignments set for him. Under leagues, he can have a look at who's doing well and who's perhaps not doing so well across the school. So you've got this competitive aspect, and I know that schools where Spelling Shed has really taken off like to have this competitive aspect between classes and who's doing well with it. And I've also got one of the diagnostic things set, which appears in this quiz shed part of EdShed. But I'm going to just go into assignments, and I'm going to choose this assignment 2 down here, and I'm going to have a quick go on here. Now I'm after play. These Hive games can be created, and indeed children can make them as well. I'm not sure I like the fact that children can make them. Maybe it's good, maybe it's not so good. I don't think you can stop them from making Hive games, but they play, and they've got an option here, which is quite neat, really, because it allows the children to kind of practice at their level. And as long as they're not being really slack about this and saying, all right, I just want it on easy every time, they can, you know, sort of challenge themselves. You'll see up there, this is a new feature where they've got this phonics tab on there, and I believe that will then take some of the pronunciations away from letter names to phonics. I haven't actually used that too much myself.
Bargain.
There we go. Now it's spoken the word to me, and I can click. If you've got a touch screen, they might be tapping them on the screen, and you've got a tick button down the bottom there, but you don't have to.
Bargain.
Thank you. You don't.
Foreign.
You don't have to use the screen. You can be using the keyboard, which I really like. Gets children more accustomed to the keyboard as well, which is a great skill. And the enter button moves them on. And of course, using the keyboard is probably going to be quicker than moving the cursor and clicking on things as well.
Shoulder. Shoulder.
I appreciate I'm under
Preferring. Preferring.
Under some pressure now.
Horribly.
Okay.
Horribly. Stomach. Stomach.
Okay, so
Fictitious.
my typing is fairly good. It's certainly going to be better than most children's typing in a primary school.
Fictitious.
But you can see how they would get quite competitive. They get points over how quick they are with their words. Quite nice that it gives them a little definition of the word as well there.
Frequently. Frequently.
Right, and I'm going to stop there before I embarrass myself and start getting things wrong. Let's head back to here. So you've got on-screen or keyboard input. Just to show you the Hive Games aspect, it is worth doing with a class. I've done this with classes before, not this year, but last year. As you can see here, these Hive Games. If we create one, you'll see that you choose a stage. So let's imagine we're stage 5, year 5, perhaps year 5. And I can choose, you can see here, I can choose from the list. So let's say in your week where you've set spellings, you're now on list 10, you could choose that. And again, you could get children to play this as a game in the class on their, whether they're using tablets or Chromebooks or whatever it is, they can log in and join. So again, this would work quite nicely as a sort of settling activity, perhaps after lunch, or maybe this is a real treat for them, because this is something that they really get into. Now, difficulty, you would judge that depending on where your children are with this. I'm always aware of the children who are perhaps not really on board so much with their spelling or with their typing. So I'm not sure setting difficulty to extreme is always going to be appropriate. I think you might put some children off. Shuffling words is great. Stops children kind of looking over each other's shoulders and doing it together. You want them to do it individually. Showing the word on the screen as well as it being spoken is probably useful. So it's going to show those hexagons. Autoplay, I would normally have that off, so I have to click for it to move on. And you've got this hub audio, so it can either play it from your device plugged in to your screen, which is probably the best way, or you can have it come out of their devices. Probably hub audio is best. I was actually talking nonsense when I mentioned shuffle here, because on a Hive game, of course, they're playing together against each other. When you set some of the challenges, you can you can shuffle the word order, which can be useful. Right, show leagues, okay or off. If you think it's going to upset your children, for them to see who's in the lead and who isn't, and that becomes a bit horrible, then you can turn that off, or top 3, whatever you want. So quick and simple there to create the game. You could increase that to 20 maybe, and it will just take words from that list. When I create the game, that will display, and of course you'll have your laptop plugged into the screen, so you've got that code up there, 801987, and then for the child, whatever device they're on, they would, let's just come out of here. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to close that. Back to my main menu as a child, and you'll see that I can enter a code in here. I've totally forgotten what it was. 801987. Let's just show you. 801987. Join that, and it's waiting, and it's waiting for the teacher to start the game. Now, it would be a bit sad to play a game with one child here, but all of the children's names would appear on there, and then you start the game and they're playing against each other, so you've got that competitive aspect of Spelling Shed. And the children that I've used it with, I think there was a mix of year 3 and year 4, they absolutely lapped it up. So that's, again, a lovely bit of variety that you can introduce. Right, I am going to come back to you guys now.